Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. Today I would like to talk about the potential for climate resilient and low carbon buildings in Russia. I would like to start with the projected increases in average winter temperature by 2099 across Russian Federation. As we can clearly see, the temperature is rising, ranging from about 3 to 4 degrees Celsius in the southern part of Russia to a more extreme 10 to 11 to 12 degrees Celsius in the northern parts of Russia, which is actually mostly lying in Arctics. And actually, about 85% of the Russian Arctic lies in permafrost. And unfortunately, temperature there is rising about 3.7 times faster than on average. So climate change is definitely a big issue, and it's mostly associated with anthropogenic emissions, of course. By looking into the CO2 emissions in Russia by year and sector, we can see that actually the biggest share of the CO2 emissions is associated with the power generation, so electricity supply, which is followed by industrial fuel combustion, transport, and buildings. These four sectors define the overall CO2 emissions in Russia. But actually, if we look into those emissions a little bit differently and see actually where power generation is supplied to, we can see that the buildings have predominant energy and emissions in Russia. Which are defined by the non-residential buildings, residential buildings, and the actual construction industry. So the production of the building materials and the construction of the building. So the objective of this work was to construct and simulate the building energy model for a typical residential building constructed in the second part of the 20th century in Magnitogorsk, Russia. If you're wondering where is it located, it is somewhere here. So it's more on the southeastern part of Russia. And the idea was to analyze the possible energy savings, emissions reductions under the climate change scenarios, and see also the PV potential in this part of the world. So first of all, what we did, we analyzed the future climate in the city of Magnitogorsk. And here we can see that climate now, actually our climate is quite continental, so clearly defined winters and summers. The temperatures are ranging from about minus 30 degrees in winter to plus 30 degrees in summer. For instance, today it is about minus 30 degrees actually, so minimum possible temperature nowadays. By analyzing the future temperature by using the MORPH EPW platform, we can see that the climate will still stay as continental. However, in summer, the temperature will rise to a more extreme, plus 45 degrees, and quite big increase in winter. So the minimum temperature in winter would be about minus 14 degrees Celsius. We have also analyzed the solar radiation nowadays. So our solar radiation here is about 1500 kilowatt hour per square meter per year, and in the future it's also going to increase to about 1800 kilowatt hour per square meter per year, which I guess increases our potential for PVs. So what we did, basically we constructed the built-in energy model under moderate resolution and used the Grasshopper plugins called Hive and Bombix to analyze the solar and energy consumption and also life cycle assessment. For those who doesn't know, life cycle assessment is a methodology that is used to analyze the emissions from the building or any other product over its whole life cycle. So from the raw material extraction, when we need to supply natural resources to produce building materials, to the actual production and construction of the building. Afterwards, it's building use, so heating, cooling, electricity consumption, and end of building life cycle, which is either disposal or waste treatment or further recycle and reuse. In this work, we used the following stages of life cycle assessment. So it's the product stage from A1 to A5, so raw material supply to the construction of the building, and also replacement stage. So at some point we have to replace our windows or thermal insulation, and we also have analyzed the operational energy use of the building, which was heating and cooling. So the idea was to improve the envelope characteristics of the building. As I said, the building was constructed in the second part of the 20th century, so it is quite outdated in terms of the building codes. So what we did, we basically used the thermal insulation to get to the properties that are required nowadays by the building standards. The changes to the fuel of the heating system was not possible, so we kept it as gas. Regarding the materials, we have selected two options. The first option is the most typical materials that are used nowadays to insulate the building. It's mostly expanded polystyrene or a rock wool with a double glazed windows with PVC frames. The second option was more a sustainable option, so it's more mineral wool and expanded clay aggregate to insulate the attic, and the same windows but with wooden frames. We also have analyzed the PV potential of the building. So here is the map again of Russia, and we can see the solar radiation and kilowatt hour per square meter per day in this case. And the more we go to the south, the more warmer and the more solar radiation we get. As a reminder, we are somewhere here. Jumping straight to the results. So first, we have analyzed the heating consumption. So on the y-axis, we can see the heating demand, and there is a months. First of all, is the original building with the temperature from 2025, which has the highest heating consumption, which is a little bit lowered if we just apply the future climate. So the heating does reduce because it's getting warmer. Makes sense. Afterwards, we can see that when applying the energy efficient measures, we do reduce a lot the heating demand, and even further if we apply to the future climate. The second result was about cooling, and even though it gets warmer in the future, the cooling still stays as a secondary energy consumption type. Basically, the worst scenario happens when we fully insulate our building and we apply the temperature from 2050, but even then, cooling is a minor comparing to the heating. Looking into the LCA results, so the worst is the current, of course. It's fully supplied by gas, and we could see the temperature, so it's quite cold, so we need lots of gas to heat our building. So the overall GWP global warming potential is about 84 kilo CO2 equivalent per square meter per year. By applying building renovation measures, our option one was the most typical one, and option two was a more sustainable one. We can see that actually embodied emissions, or the emissions that are associated with the production of materials, are minor comparing to the operational emissions. And we only reduce the global warming potential a little bit if we apply the sustainable material options. So due to continued use of a gas-based heating system, the operational emissions still stay high. Looking at the results of the photovoltaics, we have analyzed all the facades of the building and also the roof, considering the horizontal surface and the optimal angle, which is 50 degrees south in our heating. We can see first the solar incident radiation kilowatt hour per square meter per year, and the actual PV potential if we apply the 20 degrees efficiency and also the actual areas. So as we can see, roof has the highest specific yield, and it delivers a lot of electricity despite the limited area. And south facade actually was surprising that it's the largest single contributor due to high irradiation and large surface area. So it means that building integrated photovoltaics would have a high potential here. So to conclude, renovation of the existing residential building substantially reduces heating demand, and climate change alone only has a limited effect. So it does reduce the heating demand, but only to a little share. The improved envelope performance is the dominant driver of operational energy savings. However, if we continue relying on gas, it doesn't help that much to reduce the operational CO2 emissions, even after renovation. Cooling demand remains secondary, but increases slightly when renovation and climate change effects are combined. And PV integration provides a significant low carbon electricity source, offsetting a large share of built-in electricity demand, and has even higher potential if the heating system is changed from gas to electricity. Thank you very much for your attention.